Welcome to the DoubleACS Daily News. The residents of Sandcastle Estates in South Attleboro, a 55-plus community comprised of manufactured homes, have faced rent instability after the land was purchased by several different organizations over the last several years. Attleboro State Representative Jim Hawkins has been working on legislation that would offer some protections for residents. We spoke with him to learn more.
What's happening is, we're at Sandcastle Estates in South Attleboro right now, which is a 55-plus community. And a lot of these people bought houses here when they're downsizing. Their kids are gone. They don't need a big house anymore. And this would be a very affordable way to live into your senior years. The mobile home itself, it's not mobile, it's manufactured home. It's never been on wheels. It's probably worth $80,000 or $100,000. And the lot rent should be $300 or $400 a month, which is a very comfortable way to live your senior years. The problem is all these parks were owned by families. They were family owned for decades. And now all of a sudden, with the real estate boom in this area, they're worth a whole lot of money. And out-of-state companies are coming in and buying them up. In the case of Sandcastle, it was bought by Legacy Corporation. The tenant, it was probably worth on taxes, I think, $3 or $4 million before this. The tenants were, the bank was willing to lend the tenants $10 million to buy it, which seems like silly money to me. And then Legacy Corporation, an out-of-state hedge fund, came in and just grabbed it up for $13 million cash. So immediately, they're from out of state, so we don't know if they understand. Massachusetts state laws for manufactured home parks are some of the best in the country, but they're not from Massachusetts. So these tenants are particularly vulnerable to rent changes, to changes to their lease. I mean, they can't hire a lawyer for everything that happens. We've been working all spring and summer on this. It was written by House Counsel on the advice of people from Maura Healey's office and the advice of people in House Counsel. It took like 3 or 4 months to write because their job isn't to write bills for us. They do other things, but they were willing to do this because they recognized that this was an issue. So we just filed it 2 weeks ago. This bill has been filed, it's opt-in. So the bill number is HD, it's still a House docket, it's HD 5317. And this bill would allow, if the city chooses to opt in, they don't have to write a home rule petition, they just have to vote to accept it and have a board that would examine any changes to tenants' leases or rents to make sure that they comply with the existing state law. I think one of the considerations, a lot of people didn't understand that there's a couple dozen communities that already have these rent stabilization boards, but they were done prior to the ballot question that banned rent control. And the reality is rent control is allowed for mobile home parks, but most people don't realize that.
Well, hopefully it'll help us in the future because I haven't actually seen this. This is the one that would be statewide. If it operates similar to what we had been thinking, that the city would set up a rent stabilization board and any rent increases have to be approved by that board. So if Legacy tried to implement a large increase, perhaps that could be struck down to some extent. So, but Legacy, they issued leases to us that capped our rent increases at 5% a year or CPI, whichever is higher. So for a couple of years, we got 5% increases. Last year was, I think it was 5.9 because the CPI was higher. This coming year, it's probably going to be in the 8 to 10% range because that's where the CPI is. That's where it's going so far this year. So this hopefully will help us in the future. And there could be some other charges that Legacy is including in our rent that maybe we could fight those in front of a rent stabilization board. That time will tell.
Across the state, there are other communities that are very serious about this and are very interested in our bill and our response to it. So hopefully we'll help other parks and other parts of the state that are experiencing the same real estate boom. But it's received attention not just at the state level. We also got a letter of support from U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's been very active on these issues as well.